Good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Have a seat. You. Thank you for coming to our program today. We appreciate it. We've got a gorgeous place here, and Kris Ventresco has been working with off-camera flash, and that's what he's going to show us. We're going to do a little less than a half hour in here talking, and then we're going to take our show outside. So if you have a camera with you, we'll get it ready right before we go outside. And a couple of us have lights, so there's enough to go around, I think. And we're just going to play and learn a little bit tonight. So Kris is from Easton, Massachusetts. He's second generation Starlight photography. They do weddings, he does portraiture, he does landscapes, he does a little of everything, as we all do. And he's the programming director for PPA Massachusetts. So we're excited to help him towards his goal of getting his craftsman and master's degrees today. Turn your phones on to vibrate, please, and make sure that you sign in. If you're not on the list to check in, just put your name and add phone number and email there so we can keep track of you from now on. And thank you so much for coming.
All right, guys. Thank you for coming tonight. That sun's really popping through right there now.
Yep.
What I wanted to do is just kind of go through, hopefully in like 20 minutes, with just some guidelines on how I work, and then I want to try to beat the rain out there, so that way we can really show you how it all ties in. So just to kind of give you a little bit of information about myself, my passion started very early age, always following my dad around on family vacations and weddings, and then I went to Merrimack College in North Andover, and I took 2 years of black and white film photography. So I started out on 35 millimeter, and I missed the smell of the chemicals. It was just amazing. Being able to create the image and then going into the dark room, and I spent so many hours in that dark room just perfecting the imagery. And so I majored with a business degree, so I knew that I was eventually going to take over our family business. My dad's starting to step back a little bit. He's still photographing about 5 weddings a year, and so he's like, "Oh, you're a young whippersnapper. You can cover the 57 remaining." But in addition to my photography background, I attended NEAP for quite a few years, and just always going to the seminars. It's been such a huge help, studying with people like Jerry Guionis and Joe Busink, some of the best wedding photographers in the world, and really got to pick their brain, and that's how I've kind of implemented it into my own style. So to this day, even on family vacations, I'm always stopping to take photos, and my wife's come to terms with it, because even during our wedding vows, she's like, "I will even stop for you to capture that one perfect moment." So everyone got a chuckle out of that. And then I got her back, and I said, "I've seen many brides, but she's the most beautiful." So, oh yeah. But the primary focus of our business is weddings, and then we do quite a bit of portraiture. We do a lot of family portraiture, senior portraiture, and we do 40 plus weddings a year. A few cool projects that I've worked on. I actually photographed Fenway. You see Fenway right there. That was the exclusive photo used for all of Frozen Fenway in 2010. So they used that for everything. And then we also photographed the 4th of July concerts at the Hat Shell in Boston on Starro Drive. And I've been backstage with some amazing talent, such as like Rascal Flatts, Toby Keith, and my favorite, Dropkick Murphys. And we've been in magazines such as Southern New England Weddings and New England Bride. And then, as Debbie had mentioned, I'm very close to receiving my master's. I'm only, after this international print competition taking place this week, I'm now only 3 merits away. And I'm so excited to see the past 2 years, 2 of my wedding images got top 3 in the Northeast District. So I was very honored. I was published in the showcase book through PPA 2 years ago, and this is actually the second one. This is last year's wedding image, And I'm going to show how I got that. It was very simple, one flash with a softbox. And a huge thank you to printmakers. We use printmakers in Pawtucket. Amazing guys. They're always so friendly, and their print work is amazing. And actually the samples here today, I picked up from them this morning, and they actually have some huge news to announce. They actually just acquired Natural Color Lab in Stoughton, Mass. So they've merged for the better. So now they have a lot more products that they can offer, such as the metal print there with the sunset. That's something now that they can provide. Amazing. It just, the imagery pops on metal. So to kind of get into the equipment that I use, you can get away with the cheapest speed lights ever. These little Yongnuo flashes. So does anyone use Yongnuo? No? Okay, so this is gonna mind blow you. So $75, it does the same thing as the $600 Canon flashes and Nikon flashes. They're all, I use only manual power, so that's the one downfall to these. They don't have ETTL, but they do have another version for like $100 that includes the ETTL. But for me, that I don't use that. So $76 if I break it, which I'm a wedding photographer, so I break them quite frequently. I save them for parts and then just purchase a new one. So I have 3 of those that at any given time I can use from 1 speed light to 3 all at once, and they all fire at the same time. The Yongnuo flash controller, and everything is so affordable for $39, and that all you have to do is just switch the mode on the flash to the RX mode, and it will fire all your flashes simultaneously. So for $39, I got mine on Amazon. I know Debbie had asked about soft boxes, and I know Larson is no longer around. They're now called Sweet Lights, but so I've had this thing forever. 22 by 22 inch soft box, and it does a really good job of softening, the tone of the photograph. So I use that quite frequently. How are you? And then I also use the umbrellas. I have 2 umbrellas for wedding photographers. What I do is I throw one in one corner, one in the opposite parallel, and you can bounce them into the umbrellas, and it still gives you, it will light up the room. I've been in some really dark rooms, and by doing it that way and then just having an on-camera flash for fill, it really pops the entire room. I also use, and you see it in the bottom right corner, a row grid for those photographers that love the classics, the old black and white Hollywood photos. That does a really good job. And then these are just some of the umbrellas. For $18, you can get an umbrella to really add that pop. Now, and I have this image right there. I actually bounce them. You can shoot through them. I've shot through them on portraits, so you could definitely do it that way. But for reception lighting, I feel like it's a little bit more harsh by doing it that way. So to really soften it, and especially for receptions, it's just something to add a little bit more pop. And I could tone the flashes way down, and you still pick up all the ambient light. So when you have uplights, you really see all those colors pop. So I'll throw 2 of these in opposite corners, usually like half to quarter power, and that's plenty of power because then you have a little bit of fill on camera, and I just pop it over my shoulder just to give it a little bit added light. So I use the ones that, that one was actually just for demonstration. That was a Photix, but I use Westcott umbrellas, and they're not very large. I just purchased something. This is the larger one that I have, and then this one's really small. This is actually a 32 inch. So I just purchased 2 of them just to. Yeah, so I could definitely shoot through these if I wanted to, but for receptions, I just like to bounce them. Yeah.
Do you weight them down when you're outside?
When I'm outside, yes. because I've had a few umbrellas fly away, even when I had them weighted down. So oh yeah. So I try not to bring umbrellas outside. Soft boxes I will. Oh, I hear. Soft boxes, I'll still bring this outside. I'll weight it down, but I try to have an assistant with me too because they still get taken. I actually have just sandbags that I bought from Amazon, and I stuffed it, overstuffed it to the point where the handles broke off because I try to give it as much weight as possible. So it just has a handle in the middle and it's got two sides. This is Larson. Oh, the umbrellas, Westcott. Yeah. So for something like this, and I have the sample all over there as well. Just 2 speed lights, the Young Neuros, and what I did was I actually had one of them off to this side, and I try to feather it a little bit so it's coming closer to the camera, and I had one on the other side to illuminate them. And then as you can see, when those colors start coming out for the sky, they just pop. And then I add a little bit of extra pop in Lightroom, but for the most part, that was right out of camera. I just love the dimension that these lights, just by knowing how to use them and feathering them properly, it adds a lot. No, that was just bare bulbs speed light for this one. Yeah, I had one speed light. Actually, this one I didn't. I still had a little bit of it there. Just 2 speed lights. And when I'm out there, I don't have time to play with umbrellas and soft boxes, so I do throw 2 bare bulb flashes on there. For this one, now this is where I use, because I'm inside, I don't have to worry about it. This one I use 2 umbrellas, and I just bounce them into it. And in this room, I got married in this room, and I know how dark it can get. It's really dark in there. And as you can see, I used to have a challenge in that room, but now I've just conquered being able to light up a really dark space. So that was just the same thing, just crisscross lighting. So I had one on one side, one on the other, and then just bounced the flashes into the umbrellas. As I said, I could get away with 1 flash, or I could use 3. This was actually just 1 flash. I had the sun. I always try to mimic where that sun's coming from. So the sun was camera left, and then I just threw a speed light really high and had her look up a little bit, and then that's where you get that studio lighting. You have that nice shadow coming in right on the side of her face. And it was actually pretty similar lighting out there, so we're gonna try to get out. Yes. Yeah, and so I'm gonna go into technique. I always use this. I know a lot of people don't know the zoom feature. You can, but I always and I'm gonna go into that too. But I take a ambient reading with this light meter, and then I just match the intensity to the speed light. So and then I always will adjust it by 2 stops because it'll be way too. It's still pretty bright when that flash is touching. So the image of my bride and groom that were in that window, I was at a major disadvantage at this venue because I was up on the balcony. So this was for print competition. I spent probably about 6 hours straightening every window in this picture. It was excruciating. But so what happened is, so now I was outside, and then I had this soft box set up right here inside, and then just kicked it a little bit for that soft lighting, and then you can see the sky up there. Now when you're illuminating properly, you'll get a pretty dramatic sky. This one actually just got merit in competition this week. This was a little different, so just knowing where you need light. In print competition, they're going to be wondering where the light source is. So I made it come from, I actually used the speed light inside the car, shot it up to the ceiling, so that way when the light bounces down, it looks like it's coming from that little light inside the car. and then I actually threw a flash over outside the car, right behind the hood, and shot it through the window to illuminate. I know it's tough here, but I have the actual print right over here, so you can take a closer look at it. So just different ways of looking at the lighting. This one, so Debbie, do we have that fog machine? Oh, awesome. All right. So the reason why I asked, this one, very close to meriting, was I actually had a friend, I don't vape, but he was vaping, and we were all playing with lighting, and I'm like, I have 3 speed lights, let's see what we can do. And this gentleman's a biker, and I'm like, the hat looks kind of cool. It can kind of go off kind of like a captain out at sea. So what I did was I had him vaping down on the ground, and with all that smoke coming up, and you backlight it, it illuminates that, all that smoke. So it's a really cool look. And then I use the honeycomb grid. So just like the good old Hollywood studio lighting, and they make these for speed lights now. So just a good old honeycomb grid, and that's where a light meter comes in, because these can get really, really harsh. So I learned this technique from Lindsay Adler. You're just using, so I had my honeycomb just hitting him a little bit in the eye, and then just two speed lights, I toned those way down, just to give it a little bit of kicker, but it really illuminated the smoke in the background. No, I was inside. Yeah, because it was really dark, which was good, which is what I want, because a lot of times I'll use my cell phone light to put it where this is, so I can see where that light's going to be, because it's very hard to kind of focus in where that light's going to be when you're using speed lights. This was taken just a few weeks ago, but I had the bride and groom on the stairway, and just for dramatic impact, all I did was just throw a speed light going through the railing to kind of get that cool effect too, right on the stairway. This is a challenge too. This is where I'll still use the cell phone light to try to, because I can't see where that light's going to be hitting them through that, and I want to make sure nothing crosses their faces. Yeah, I just use my cell phone light. I just turn it on, and I absolutely love this photo. This is one of my favorites that I've taken. I have it, I think in color. Yeah, it's in color over here. One speed light, that's actually my speed light fired, because it was at sunset anyway, so I was like, that's kind of cool. And then, so I had that just as a kicker, and then I had one light all the way against the wall to give them that studio lighting again. Because you have that nice light right under their chin. So I really raise it up and kind of angle it down. Same thing with all my lights, because that's where you get all that dramatic, awesome. That's where you get all that dramatic lighting, is by angling it downwards. So I feather a lot here. And then I know people have challenges sometimes on the beach, and this was taken at 4 o'clock. It was still really, really bright out, and then it would get overcast. It would keep playing. The lighting was playing with me like crazy. So what I did was I had one light in the softbox, and then I had my wife holding that down because I was on a beach, and then I had another one just to kind of put a little bit more. I toned it way down, but just to throw a little bit more power at them, so that way we can get those clouds. Because it was very challenging. Sometimes when you're on the beach and you don't have high speed sync, that's how I get around it. I'll throw like 2 flashes up there, and it works perfectly. Same thing here. Now this was just all one speed light. I'll take that ambient reading, and I'll show this because it's gonna be hands on in a few minutes once we get out there. But I'll take an ambient reading with this. And then I'll set it to the strobe setting, turn that dome in, that way you don't get any contamination, and I'll just keep firing my flash until I hit that f-stop that we took for the ambient reading, and it'll match it perfectly. So that's what I did here. This is actually a darker area in a park in Easton, and as you can see, it doesn't look very dark. Just by using that one light, I just matched the intensity. And actually, so that was my last slide to kind of show you. I wanted to show you the difference between the 1 strobe and the 3. Does anyone have any questions before we go out there and start shooting? Uh-oh, am I losing people? All right. So, who has light meters? Okay, yeah. Yeah, the 358, this is a Sekonic 358. Been around forever. And, yeah, it does. So, which I like because we, in Massachusetts, we just had Zach Gray come and give us a one-day seminar. And I never really realized, because I never played with it that much with the intensity, the percentage, but you can get really dramatic once it hits 90%, and he was doing it. It was really cool. So for those of you that are familiar with a light meter, like I had mentioned, I'll be on the star setting because that's what gives you your ambient reading. So I know you can't see, I know it's kind of, so I will scroll to that. Yep. And like outside right now, I would probably shoot at 1/25th of a second. So, but for here, I'm gonna bump this ISO way up to 5,000 so I can get a, so the light meter reading right now is 2.8. So what you do is you then turn the dome in and scroll to the little flash with the T, and that just means it's on the transmitter mode. You fire your flash, and if you reach 2.8, you're in the right zone. And then I'll tweak it a little bit if it's too bright, which a lot of times it is. So I'll just tone it down a little bit. So am I losing anyone on that? No. Okay. Yeah, and if you ever need help with the light meter and you decide to get a light meter. Yeah, okay. You could still do the same thing by metering in camera. A lot of times you could just point the camera up to the sky, take a meter reading there, and you can work it that way. And then you can just adjust your flashes. You know, that'll give you a pretty good accuracy. Yes? Yeah, if you don't have a light meter, you could do it that way. I know people have done it that way, and that works as well. But I like having this because I could work a little bit quicker. I know where I need to be, and I'll just set my flash up. I usually, as I had mentioned, I try to prop it up really high and then angle it downward, and then that's where you're gonna get more of that like studio light. You get the shapes, the shadows on the side of the face that I really like. So, any other questions? Like I said, this is gonna be hands-on. We have an awesome bride right here. So, all right. So yeah. So let's take 5 minutes just to get your gear, and it looks like it hasn't even started raining yet, which is awesome. So.
Oh,
Yeah, we should be fine.